Parties and counsel are present. All members of our jury or alternates are present, and Mr. Irons, you may continue your examination.
Thank you. I may have been a little confused, so I want to clarify something with a couple of the exhibits. And I have other one coming marked here in a second. This is 311. Can you again describe for us what that is?
311 is a photograph of keys that were collected from the autopsy of Mr. McStay. There were keys collected from the left back pocket of the shorts.
That's a set, right?
That is correct.
So I'm now showing you what's been marked as 767. Is this a close-up view of one portion of 311?
Yes, it is.
In this grouping of specific keys, we're down into the, is it left or right of 311?
The bottom left.
Bottom left.
This photograph is what exhibit now?
767.
767, okay.
Okay. And those were found or recovered from where?
These keys in exhibits 311 and 767 were collected during the autopsy of Mr. McStay, and they were located from the left back pocket of the shorts, and they are identified as item E7.
Okay. Exhibit 316 was a single key that was recovered. Clarify for us where that was recovered from and documented.
While photographing the evidence collected from the autopsy of Mr. McStay, I photographed these keys as item E7, and while going through the shorts, I was going to photograph the shorts, we found an additional key in the right pocket of the shorts. And exhibit 316 is a photograph of the single key that was located in the shorts. These shorts were identified as item E8.
Making sure I follow. These were found, this single key was found in which pocket?
Was found in the right pocket of these shorts that were identified as E8.
And the group of keys was found in the left?
The group of keys were found in the left back pocket of the shorts.
Okay. At some point, did you receive or participate in the reception of evidence from the San Diego Sheriff's Department and FBI involved in this case?
Yes, I did.
And you, Detective Hart, and others took custody of that as part of the investigation?
Yes, I did.
What, if any, role did you have in collecting, documenting, or processing any of that evidence?
I received everything. I identified everything and documented everything and photographed most of the items.
And the purpose of that would be what? Since it's already been documented by San Diego, why would you need to do it again?
We knew that different tests were being done by different people and items were being sent out, so I wanted to photograph the evidence as I received it. I didn't open everything and go through everything. I photographed the package on some of them, and I wanted to show how I received it because I knew that items had been gone through in San Diego, and I knew that after we had possession of it, it was going to be gone through and tested again. So I photographed it as I received it, and then I submitted everything to our Sheriff's Central Property Evidence Unit.
Was part of that process also establishing your own chain of custody with like property numbers or barcode numbers to be able to track that stuff?
Yes, it was. Everything was given it. I gave all of the San Diego evidence my own item letter, and it was all cross-referenced with San Diego's item letters, and I barcoded all of the evidence under my barcodes.
So now we've ended up with at least two sets of barcodes, San Diego's and yours.
That's correct.
Okay. The Isuzu Trooper, at some point, did you have interactions with it?
Yes, I did.
And can you explain that for the jury?
The Isuzu Trooper, I was also given San Diego's reports, and reading their reports, the Isuzu Trooper was processed by San Diego according to their reports. I was asked to do some further processing, fingerprinting, just to see if we can find any fingerprints that maybe San Diego may have missed. So I was asked to fingerprint the vehicle and to test the vehicle interior to see if there was bloodstains.
And so all of this that you would have done would have been after anything that San Diego's CSI people would have done with the car back then.
That is correct.
Nothing further, thank you.
Cross?
Yes, sir. Ms. Radeleff, so going back to the 12th, this is the first day you responded, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as you said, you reported to Detective Avila. He was the case agent at the time.
Yes, he was.
And you had other crime scene specialists with you?
Yes, I did.
And who'd you have with you?
I had some trainees with me at the time.
Would that be Bayless and Coey?
Correct, I had crime scene specialist Bayless, crime scene specialist Cowie, and I had sheriff's service specialist Bell, who, after her time as a sheriff's service specialist, we ended up hiring as a crime scene specialist.
And you arrived at the scene approximately 8:01 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
And you left about 4:46 in the evening?
Yes.
I'll go to grave A. Grave A is where the male figure was located, correct?
That is correct.
Which ended up being identified as Joseph McStay.
Yes, sir.
I'll show you exhibit 756. And that is the state of the remains of Mr. McStay before he was removed from grave A.
Yes, it was.
And it appears that, as you testified to, Mr. McStay is more on his right side, kind of leaning forward,
It would appear to be, yes.
and pointing to behind you. That appears to be his spinal column facing towards the camera.
Yes, it would appear to be.
And then those are the shorts that you described, that items were recovered at the autopsy,
Yes.
and different parts of the blanket, the woven cotton blanket is on the top and bottom of the remains.
Yes.
Go to exhibit 755. This is earlier in the excavation, correct?
Yes, it was.
And as testified earlier, that was the white cord that was recovered from the remains of Mr. McStay.
Yes, that was in grave A with Mr. McStay.
Do you know if that was given an item number?
I do not know, I was not a part of that autopsy.
As we saw exhibit 339, this is an envelope that you would make up when you receive evidence from the scene,
When I collect evidence from the scene, yes, sir.
and that's for the envelope for item A25.
Yes.
And that barcode would be listed on the envelope as in the top right corner.
Yes, sir.
And that's a barcode that would have been assigned in your system. You would attach it to the envelope to track an item.
Yes.
Going to 341, that is the red strap that was contained within inside.
I would have to verify with the photograph number that it is the exact same strap.
Do you have your list for you?
Yes, sir.
bring you 341. You can see the photo number, which is written on the back.
Yes, this is, Exhibit 341 is a photograph of item 825.
I was looking for a photograph of where that strap was found inside the grave. Do you know if you have a picture of where this strap was found?
I believe there are photographs of the strap during the excavation. It could even possibly be one of the first photos that Mr. Imes had shown where there was a photograph of the red strap. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head every photograph in that grave that specifically had the strap in it though.
And there was, as you explained, you were going between two graves, so things might have been missed. Like when something was actually picked up and said, okay, let's take a picture where it was found.
That is possible, yes.
Go to 261. Again, this was the woven blanket, correct? That was recovered from grave A?
Yes,
One of the many pictures of it?
yes.
Going to grave B, we'll talk about the sweatpants and the women's panties that were found with them, Exhibit 222. Now, this is a photograph you took of them where they were, you said, north of the skull?
Northwest of the skull, yes.
And so the rest of, we'll identify as Summer McStay's remains were to the south of her skull?
That's correct.
So those weren't on her body?
That's correct, they were not.
And these two items were marked as one item together, correct?
No. They were separated. The sweats were identified as item A1, and the panties are identified as item A2.
We'll go to Exhibit 318. And this is the bag that those were placed within.
Yes, sir.
And again, the barcode assigned for those items, A1, A2, and A3 were under the same barcode
Yes.
and contained within the same larger bag.
Yes, sir.
And you would, that's an example of where you would write what's inside that bag.
Yes.
And those are your initials below the date, correct?
Yes.
Exhibit 245, and those were the condition of the sweatpants and the women's panties when they're pulled out together.
Yes.
And I believe, as you described them in your placard log notes, you're familiar with those are?
These were not placarded, so they're not on a placard log, but I described them when they were collected. They're documented on an evidence collection log.
And you noted them as panties inside pants, leg pulled up inside like pants, panties taken off together.
Yes.
We'll go to Exhibit 246. These are we identified as the front of the sweatpants, correct?
Yes, sir.
because as you identified, you can see the back tag from that photograph, correct?
That's correct.
And the discoloration in the sweatpants, you can see from the front, correct?
Yes,
It starts in the crotch area and goes down, which would appear to be the right leg.
that's correct.
Go to exhibit 242. 247. Exhibit 247. This is the rear half of the pants
Yes, it is.
with much of the stain in the seat area and then going down the leg, correct?
That's correct.
And again, that would be the right leg.
Yes,
Aren't those stains consistent where somebody urinated while wearing those pants?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled, she can answer if she has an opinion.
I don't know, and I've never seen urine stains look like that.
That's not what my question was. My question was the location of the stain. Would that be consistent if somebody was wearing those and urinated themselves?
Yes, it could be.
Now, you, I shouldn't say you, your agency, the Sheriff's Department of San Bernardino and the Crime Lodge, had possession of these sweatpants, correct?
Yes,
Were they submitted for testing?
yes, they were.
Did you test them to see if that was a substance that bleached it out?
I don't know which testing was done on these pants.
So you were not informed of what the results were?
No, I was not.
So you testified in court that those could be bleach, but you don't know.
That's correct.
Are you familiar with ammonia and its bleaching abilities?
I've never seen stains like that.
That wasn't my question.
I am not, no.
You familiar that urine breaks down to ammonia when it degrades?
Objection, lacks foundation.
Sustained.
You don't know if those stains are from urine breaking down to ammonia, are you?
No.
Objection, lacks foundation calls for speculation.
Sustained.
So you testified speculating whether it was bleach, Your Honor.
Objection, argumentative, move to strike.
The objection sustained.
Is it your testimony here today that that stain is actually from bleach?
No,
Because you can't say that, can you?
I cannot.
It would be improper under the protocols of your department if you were to say that without a proper test, correct?
That's correct.
So the inference from the question to say or to infer that this is bleach should not be received from your testimony that's actually bleach.
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Do you wish to convey to this jury that that is actually bleach?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
I'm asking what her testimony is. Do you wish your
You're
testimony?
giving your closing argument. You can save that for your argument.
Well, then I would move to strike her answer that that looks like bleach. That it lacks foundation.
Denied.
Let's go to the black bra. That was found in the center area of the grave,
Half of it was, yes.
the left half,
That's correct.
and it was south of the skull.
Yes, it was.
And I'll go to exhibit 238. That is a picture of it when it was pulled out of the grave, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll go to picture also 250. This is a picture of the item that was taken when you're back at your lab.
Yes.
And that item was given an item number, I think you testified of A3.
Yes, sir.
And again, that was part of these same bags that we already identified in Exhibit 318?
Yes,
It would have the same barcode.
yes,
And you also noted something about this left cup bra in your notes, did you not?
yes, I did.
You know that the black bra has a straight cut in center of breast area, left breast cup only present, A3 in parentheses.
Yes,
To Exhibit 757, you took a close-up photograph of that cut,
yes, I did.
and that's what's in that exhibit.
Yes, sir.
That looks to be some type of sharp object, whether it be a knife or scissors or something of that effect.
That's what it appeared to me.
When you were in grave A, in the area of the bra, did you find a top or shirt or something that a woman would wear?
I don't believe so.
Now let's go to the couple items that you were documented outside the grave. We'll start with the right cup of the bra. That was found, you said, southeast of grave B. I'll show you 758. It's kind of under the bush.
Yes, sir.
And 759 shows that right cup, correct?
Yes,
And that's taken in your lab.
yes, it was.
And that was given an item number A26.
Yes, it was.
I could not find a picture of the envelope that it was stored within, but can you verify the barcode from your notes of what would be assigned to the barcode for A26?
Yes, I can. The barcode for A26 was 1342004197.
Thank you. And you had notes on this item as well that you wrote?
Yes, I did.
It was A26, has a straight cut, parent, right cup of bra, and parent, sun bleached, dirty, consistent with A3.
Yes.
Show you exhibit 760, and that's the close-up photograph you took of the right cup,
Yes, it is.
and that showed that cut line that you saw in that bra.
Yes.
It seemed consistent with you that if this was being worn, this was cut off, Miss McStay, by cutting between the bra cups.
I couldn't tell you if it was cut while she was wearing it or not. I couldn't make that assumption.
Let's go to the tire tracks. Let's start with the ones to grave A. You were involved in measuring the tire tracks going up to grave A,
Yes, sir.
and you were able to measure them, well, the distance they were from that creek bed, or we've heard it called a gas line road, or whatever you want to call the area. You measure from there to where the tracks ended, correct?
No, I measured the wheelbase of the impression or depressions, and I measured the length of the depression, the tire.
The length of the depression from where they stopped going back towards the creek bed, or whatever it's called.
Just the entire length.
Okay, and what was the entire length of the tracks to grave A?
The length of the tire tracks of west of grave A were 19 feet 3 inches.
Now you said wheelbase. Wheelbase is a term from the wheels from the front tires to the back tires.
Objection assumes facts, not evidence.
Do you mean tire width?
Just the objection sustained.
Do you mean the tire tread width, the outside width?
Not the tire tread, but from the left side tires to the right side tires.
Right. When you say wheelbase, what you're trying to confer or convey is the outside edge from one tread to the other outside edge of the parallel tread in close proximity to it, correct?
That's correct.
And you took pictures of the tire tread while you were measuring it, correct?
Yes, I did.
And I'll show you 761. And these would be more of a distant shot of those treads?
Yes.
Objection, misstates testimony as to treads.
Well, tire depression.
Overruled.
And that shows the start of the tape measure put to the one side, and then the tape measure stretched across to the other tire depression so you can measure it. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
And you tried to do it kind of perpendicular, I assume, to the edge so you can get the shortest distance between the two?
Objection. Objection assumes facts, not evidence as to their intent.
Overruled, Chief Justice.
I'm trying to get the most accurate measurement of the tires.
Well, what I mean is if you had a tire depression here and a tire depression here, you weren't going diagonal. You were trying to go the shortest distance between the two so you can get the most accurate distance, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what that's reflected in this photograph.
Yes.
And then photograph 762, that's kind of more of a mid-range of the measurement that was obtained, correct?
Yes.
And then 763 is the close-up of where the measurement was taken in relation to the outer edge of the tire depression, or the track depression. Would that be accurate?
That's correct.
And could you point to where you felt was the edge of the depression so you can get the width?
I can't tell in this photograph if this is the tire impression or depressions west of grave A or grave B. Depends on which one this is because they were different.
Okay. Do we have the exhibits I can back up here so I can show her 763? You have the photo number. Perfect. I'll show you 763. And I'll leave this book up here, so in case you need them for the rest, this is 763, so, and that's the number up top.
Okay, this is a photograph of the tracks that are west of grave A. And the tracks that were west of grave A measured from the outer edge to the outer edge at 73 inches. Which would have been where the tape was 73 inches.
So that was the best measurement you can give for the rough tracks. We said it looks 73 is our best measurement.
That's correct.
We will go on to the tracks leading to grave B. Now you measured the length of those tracks from where they started to where they ended,
Yes, I did.
and what was the total length?
35 feet, 5 inches.
And then you did the same thing with the tire tracks to grave, or tire depressions to grave B, right? You did a different photographs, distant, mid-range, and close. Correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll go to 764. These would be the long range, or the distant.
Yes,
And you attempted to put the end of the tape measure at one edge and then go across to the other edge, correct?
that is correct.
And you try to do it at perpendicular to the edge. You could try and get the shortest distance to be as accurate as possible.
That's correct.
And then I'll show you 764. This is the mid-range shot, correct?
Yes,
And that shows the entire width of the tracks with the tape over.
yes,
And then 766, this would be the close-up of the measurement that you took.
yes.
And what's the measurement you came up with for this tire track depression?
76 inches.
So 3 inches wider.
That's correct.
And can you show for the jury on the one behind you with the laser pointer where you determined the edge was? Now, did you measure the distance between grave A and grave B, so you can show reference of how close they were.
The distance between the two graves, no, but each grave was measured from an azimuth circle.
Did you not write in your report that they're approximately 20 feet apart?
That was my approximation. I don't know that an official measurement was made.
From your memory of walking the scene, does that approximation sound about right?
It sounds about right.
And the key that was recovered that we saw in Exhibit 311, I guess I'll put it up just so we're talking about the same item. These keys that were recovered from the left rear pocket of Joseph McStay's shorts during the autopsy, were those assigned a barcode number?
Yes, they were.
And what would that barcode number be?
They were assigned 1370001772.
Hey, 1 second. So you processed the Zuzu Trooper as for fingerprints, correct?
Yes, I did.
And when you processed the Zuzu Trooper for fingerprints, what process did you use?
First, I superglued the interior of the vehicle. After supergluing the interior of the vehicle, I then used fluorescent powder and black powder.
What's the purpose of using super glue?
The purpose of using superglue is to set the fingerprint. If the fingerprint is on a slick surface, even if it's on one of these paper covers, if it's slick surface, if you superglue it, it'll set the print. So if there's a print on it, it allows me to go back and even do more than one lift if needed.
And you use that to pull any fingerprints that you would have found inside the Trooper, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you understood that the Zuzu Trooper was processed by San Diego, correct?
That's correct.
Did you discuss with detectives saying we need to go back through this because they might have missed things?
Yes.
And what things were you, straight down, what were you told the concerns were, things that were missed in the items that you were asked to process?
We were basically looking to see if there was any missed fingerprints and if there were any missed latent blood inside the vehicle.
So did you check the inside of the Trooper for any latent blood?
Yes, I did.
And when you received the Zuzu Trooper, was it still sealed under a law enforcement seal?
It was sealed when we received it at my lab. It was sealed.
So it had not been like resold to the public and then you had to process it after the public owned it?
Not that I'm aware of.
And when you did the processing of the inside of the Zuzu Trooper, was there anything that you saw that indicated to you the possibility of blood that required further testing?
No, sir.
Did you check the floorboards,
Yes, I did.
the seats,
Yes, sir.
the interior?
Yes, the entire interior of the vehicle was tested with booster.
And the other items that were contained within the vehicle as well, correct?
That's correct.
And I believe, did you fingerprint different areas like the seatbelt buckle and things like that as well?
Yes, I did.
And you were able to pull some possible latent prints off of different areas of the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And you did log those in as exhibits or evidence?
Yes, I did.
Now, as you stated earlier, you don't do the comparison, you just collect, document, and put into evidence, correct?
That's correct.
And the items that you collected for fingerprints, what are the barcodes that you put all that under?
The fingerprints I lifted from you, Susan?
Yes.
Okay, I lifted 4 fingerprints, and they were submitted under barcode 1342004324.
And did you also process it for, with DNA swabs to see if there's any DNA that can be recovered from any of the items inside the vehicle?
No, I did not.
But you received the DNA swabs that were done in San Diego, correct?
That's correct.
And those were put under San Bernardino barcode for further processing.
That's correct.
The exhibits for the DNA, strike that. Did you review the notes of the crime scene specialists, or the field techs as they call them, in San Diego, of what they did in processing the evidence?
The evidence or the vehicle?
Any evidence?
Yes, I did. At the time, I did review the reports.
Did you find any errors or actions that you did not agree with the process in your review of their records?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
I don't recall. I didn't go through the report like that, like I was reviewing it, looking for errors. So I couldn't recall, to be honest with you.
Are you familiar with the term peer review?
Yes.
Were you performing, well, what's a peer review?
A peer review is after, it's now called a technical review, they're not called peer reviews anymore. A technical or peer review is when a report is turned in. So I do a report and I turn my report in. It gets reviewed by a unit member, a member in my unit that is qualified and trained to review my report to make sure that I didn't miss anything or do any processing wrong.
And you were not reviewing San Diego's as peer review, correct?
That's correct.
So you did more of a cursory review, not a peer review.
That's correct.
In your cursory review, was there anything that you saw that stood out that you now remember today saying, whoa?
No.
So everything that you saw seemed to be within the normal parameters of what you would expect a person in that position to do.
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled, if she has an opinion.
As far as looking at the reports, I did not see anything that stood out as a majorly wrong event, or I would have brought that up.
We have 1 second, Your Honor.
Sure.
Goal is to have this witness done today. I just want to check one thing.
Sure.
Did you see any issue with the fact that the field tech in San Diego did not super glue the items inside the vehicle before using a black powder processing technique?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Now, you've been a crime scene specialist for 17 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said when you went out to this scene out in Victor Valley, it was unique for you, correct?
It was not a common scene, so yes.
And you've done 5 to 10 of those in your career.
In estimation, yes.
How many, and when you're talking about the scene, you're talking about recovering remains from that have been buried underground?
Yes.
So you maybe 5 to 10 total.
Approximately, yes.
How many of those 5 to 10 was there stains of clothing from bodily fluids, as in urine?
Well, most of the clothing are stained with bodily fluids. Usually it's decomp fluids from the decomposition of the body. I can't particularly say anything that it was urine.
So none that you could say definitively.
That's correct. I can't say if it was urine.
your 17 years experience, you've never seen a verified example of what happens to clothes that are in the ground that have urine on them?
I don't know if there is urine, they're not tested for urine, and we can't tell the difference between the urine and the decomp fluids.
Is there any decomp fluid that you saw in the pants and the panties?
They were, you can tell that there was, that they were dirty. I wouldn't say that they were decomp fluids on them, but they were dirty.
So they could have been tested.
Objection lacks foundation and assumes some facts not in evidence.
Overruled, she can answer if she knows. I assume you mean tested for decomposition fluid.
Or whatever that stain was, yes. The pants could have been tested for what any substance could have been on those items.
Objection assumes facts not in evidence lacks
The
foundation.
objection sustained is that if you want to ask her whether or not it can be tested for decomposition fluid,
Okay.
if she knows, she can answer that question.
Could items 1 and 2 been tested for decomposition fluid on the items?
They could have been tested. I don't know if results can come back and differentiate between decomp fluid and urine.
The question was, do you know if they were tested?
I do not. I know that they were sent to DNA, and I know that some tests were done, but I do not know which tests were done on these pants or the panties.
If you wanted to test an item for bleach, does your crime lab have the ability to do that?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Do you know if those items 1 and 2 were sent for any other testing besides DNA?
I don't know.
And if an item is taken out of, well, strike that. An item that is stored under the barcode, is that barcode tracked when something is checked out for some kind of other purpose?
Yes, it is.
So let's just say it needed to be sent to the FBI. Then you would have the barcode be signed out, given over to this individual, correct?
Yes.
And if it came back, you would say, we received it back from this individual.
The chain of custody is kept in our property and evidence tracking system.
So if the item was removed for any type of testing, your system would be able to document that for our information.
Yes.
And you don't maintain that system, correct?
No, I do not.
One last question. Then going back to the tire depressions from grade A and grade B. You testified that grade A had a measured width of 73 inches, outside edge to outside edge. The tire depressions to grade B has a 76 measurement from outer edge to outer edge, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that indicative to you that it looks like 2 separate vehicles went to that crime?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled, she can answer if she has an opinion.
I would not, and I could not say that because of the,
Well, I just asked if you could say that. You said no.
no.
In the ground up at the gravesite, as we saw in the photograph, appeared to be rock and dirt mixed in together. Is that accurate?
There did appear to be smaller rocks. Yes,
Like centimeter size, approximately fingernail size.
yes,
So it was just not sand, correct?
that's correct.
And when the excavation was going on, did the general ground appear to be, I don't know if the right word is solid or coarse versus like a lighter, thinner sand type?
It did not feel like the lighter, thinner sand. It seemed a little bit harder. It had been years of being packed, so it wasn't a hard like concrete, but it wasn't like soft like the beach either.
So the general dirt in the area was a harder type of weathered surface or terrain.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
Did you finish?
Yes.
Just a couple questions.
Of course.
You were attempting to explain your answer of why you could not say if it was indicative of two vehicles but were cut off. What were you attempting to say?
I could not say that this was two separate vehicles because the difference in the distance was only 3 inches. And we're talking, these impressions were potentially out there for many years and over time. And for them to be that deep of a depression had to have been really soft at the time, possibly wet and muddy. I can't determine exactly, but seeing how hard it was packed, for that depression to have occurred that deep and lasted that long tells me that it was pretty soft at the time those depressions were made. So over time, just the sand and everything going on in the area, I can't accurately say this is the exact measurement of these tires. These are general measurements of those tracks.
The items of evidence that you took back to the lab, packaged, etc., you indicated, like, for example, the sweat pants had one item number and the panties had a separate item number. Were they packaged separately after they were separated from the bundle?
Yes.
Because they were bundled together when removed from the grave, correct?
Yes, they were.
Why would you package them separately?
Oh, you mean no, they're in the same barcode. They weren't separated, they're in the same barcode.
Okay, but they're each a separate item?
Yes, they are.
Would there be a need to package them separately since they were removed, clumped together?
No.
Why would you tend to try to, when possible, package separately items of evidence?
If they're collected from different areas, you don't want to have cross-contamination, but these were found together, so they were packaged together. And so when they can be tested, they can just pull the one barcode and test it.
But if they're found together, such as these two items were, there's no need necessarily to separate them at that point?
That's correct.
The discoloration that we're seeing on the pants, did you see any type of discoloration to the panties?
No, I did not.
Nothing further.
Anything else? While you're thinking, let me ask one or two questions. The tire tracks, you indicated the total length. Did one end of those tracks was near each of the graves, correct?
Yes, sir.
The other end, was it close to what we've been referring to as the wash or the pipeline road?
The pipeline road did run on the other side of the track, yes.
So the tracks disappeared at that pipeline road?
Well, one track was a lot shorter than the other, but they came from that pipeline road towards the grave.
Okay, but there weren't any tracks in the pipeline road?
No.
Is that correct?
That's correct, there was no.
Okay. Does that indicate to you that at the time the tracks were made, the soil, the ground where the tracks were softer than the ground on the pipeline road?
Either, I don't know that I would say that it was softer, or just that pipeline road, it could have been more traveled with
Okay.
off-terrain vehicles and would have gotten.
Whatever tracks were there were wiped out by other tracks?
That would be my assumption, yes.
Okay. When you were there, you indicated the area where the tire impressions, depressions, whatever we want to call them, was relatively hard. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
If you have an opinion, if a vehicle drove over that area in the condition of the soil when you were there, would it leave deep tire impressions like that?
No,
The ground was too hard for that?
correct.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. McGee?
Just one question, or two questions, I guess. The sweatpants were originally black, correct?
That's correct.
And the panties were originally white.
I could not determine the color of the panties.
So if we had prior testimony that they were considered white, would that be consistent with what you saw?
I called them unknown color. I think I originally tried to call them blue, but I kind of got confused and said unknown color because over time, I couldn't determine the color.
Thank you. Nothing.
Sorry, Kenny?
No, sir.
Any objection to Ms. Radeleff being excused?
No.
Right.
I would ask that she be subject to.
Subject to recall, sure. So thank you for your attendance and your excuse from the courthouse. I assume they know where to find you if they need anything additional. And make sure you don't take any of our exhibits with you. Jurors don't leave yet. I've some additional information for you. I'm going to ask everyone else to leave the courtroom. We have some other matters that I need to take up with the jury.